Hi everyone. In this video, we'll go through the authentication process and see how the users are able to log in and then be recognized by the app. So as I try to explain, the main feature of Dash used here is the CC store, and we well we put it in the app itself in the layout, give it some ID, and then very important, we specify the storage type. This local means the user can close the tabs, can close the browser when they open them again. If they are logged in, they will still be logged in. They will not have to log in every time they change a tab or open a new browser. Unless they specifically log out, they will still be logged in if they just change the tabs or open the browser again. And then very important also, we set this data type here to be a dictionary. It can be anything, but we choose it to be a dictionary because we want to store a lot of information here. So with that, we go to the login module. So we know that in our login page, if you log out first, in the login this input box here, which is here. This is the layout for the whole login page, and then this is where the user inputs their email address. So once they input the email address, we have this callback here that first copies some structure here for the dictionary. This is very important because we don't have to rewrite the whole dictionary structure of our data, this data here in the app. We said it was a dictionary, but we need to have some keys that are defined, and those ones we define them here. So we know that our session data should have the email of the user, the full name. This is optional, it's not mandatory, but very important, it should have this flag here because this is what will help us know that this user has been verified or not. So this is what we copied, the dictionary here. So once we copy that dictionary, we only change some values from it. So first we verify that the email that has been provided does exist in our database. And the way we do that here is we call this function that has been defined in the app queries. So the verify user takes in the email address of the user and then returns the full name. So if if the returned if what if something is returned here, so it means what we have is the full name of the user. But if nothing is returned, then we return nothing. So we can check what this query does in the database. So because this is what actually does the checking. The application itself doesn't do the authentication. Actually, it doesn't check whether the user exists or not. It only sends the query to the database, and then the database does the checking and then just sends the full name of the user if they exist. So if we run this here, this is what we get for this user. We pass some email address, and this is the full name we get for the user. So we know that if a full name is returned, then the user exists in our database. If nothing is returned, then they don't exist. So that's what is being done here. If there's some name that is returned, then we know, okay, we can actually we can change the value of the full name here in this dictionary. We know the full name is here, so we put some value returned by that function, and then we change this flag here to say that, okay, now because there's a user that has been logged in, then they are authenticated. We also change the value of the email address because we use it some time later, and then we return that data. Now this data returned here is the whole dictionary itself, and remember, this is the same dictionary here because the ID of the store is the same we're using. It's available throughout the application. The first output here is the ID of session, which is the same. So we're returning the whole dictionary, and that dictionary is available in all other parts of the application. That's just how Dash is. So we have this one here with the updated value, and it's also available in the app and in all the other modules. And then if there's no return name, then we just return this. We just ensure that is authenticated is false, because we also don't want someone to change this to true, and then when we copy here, the app will be deceived and then return this one as true. So we just ensure that this is false, it remains false, although it was already false. We just ensure that it's still false no matter what, and then we return that dictionary again. So once we return that dictionary, then we know that the user is authenticated. And then this is where we update the navigation bar. Because something that is also important here is we had to set some flags for the app pages. So if a page is protected, we just put it. If it's not protected, then false. If it's protected, true. And then that's where we use that data returned by the login page. Say in the authentication data, if the user is authenticated, then we return all the protected pages. If they are not authenticated, then well, all the public pages. Then there's one last thing we did is we also need to protect the internal page, because this page we only want it to be returned, to be viewed by users that have been logged in. So for that, we have the layout here for the internal page, but this layout is the one that is returned. That is used by the dash multi-page setup. But where we set up the protection is by defining two layouts, two different layouts, one that is protected and one that is not protected. So again, we are still using the session data, the same session data from the app, which has been modified by the login or not. So if the user is authenticated, then return the protected container. If they are not, then return the unprotected container, which doesn't have access to the internal. So that's a review of the authentication process using just the CC store, and it also has to do with a lot of calls to the database. But the main idea is that we're using the CC store instead of other tools and processes.